Welcome to Autopia. My name is Sam Story. I'm autistic, and throughout my whole life, I've been interested in what's made autistic people, such as myself, different from the neurotypical population. This podcast that you're listening to right now is called Autopia, and you might have clicked on it thinking, what is Autopia? Is it a car-related theme park? Oh, I wish. In this podcast, Autopia is in fact an alternate timeline in which 99% of the Earth's human population is autistic and only 1% is neurotypical. I wanted to start this podcast in order to create an image for neurotypical people, as well as autistic people, of what it would be like to live in a world where the world is built by and for autistic people, and neurotypical people are a minority, facing similar struggles to autistic people in our own world. In addition to this, I wanted to combine my fascination with brain structures with my affinity for alternate history scenarios. Alternate history scenarios are the idea of exploring what would have happened if the lives of certain historical figures, or certain historical events, had gone differently to how they happened in our own timeline. In terms of alternate history scenarios, this is quite a big one, as it deals with the entirety of humanity starting off fundamentally different in many ways. Although on the surface it appears that everybody just has a different brain wiring, what differences exist in society, culture, governments, and more aspects of the human civilization? Before we go into anything too serious, I might need to explain some of these terms for you in case you don't know. These are the terms that I'll be using a lot throughout the podcast. I'm sure most of you have at least heard of the term autistic, or autism. Autism, as I see it, is a wiring of the brain, with some referring to it as a disability, as our world isn't built for autistic people. In terms of social etiquette, in just about every country and region of the world, it's based around neurotypical social norms such as eye contact, which it took me years to learn how to do comfortably, not saying exactly what you mean all the time, especially if someone asks for an honest answer, and making small talk like, oh, the weather's lovely today, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not blind, I can see the weather, thank you very much. Unless you are blind, of course. In our world, autism is characterized by its difference from the neurotypical brain wiring. A quick statistics lesson for you. According to the World Health Organization, 1% of the world's children are autistic, meaning that it's very likely that 1% of the world's general population is autistic too. The fact that the WHO says children and not people is indicative of another problem in our society, and it's a commonly held belief that some people think only children can be autistic and not adults. Autistic adults don't exist, but that's a story for another time. You may be familiar with the term autistic already, but what about the term neurodivergent? Are they interchangeable? Well, not exactly. Neurodivergent literally means non-neurotypical. Everybody in the world is either neurotypical or neurodivergent. You cannot be neither of these. So where does autism fit into this dynamic of neurotypical or neurodivergent? Autism is essentially a subcategory of neurodiversity, meaning that everybody who is autistic is also neurodivergent. However, not all people who are neurodivergent are autistic. As well as autism, there are other neurodiverse conditions such as ADHD, dyslexia, and dyspraxia. Many of these often accompanying autism in autistic people. They often have autism and ADHD, or autism and dyslexia. There's also the term allistic, which is an umbrella term that means non-autistic. You can be allistic and neurodivergent, for example, having dyslexia but not being autistic, but you cannot be autistic and allistic at the same time. So the terms autistic and allistic are antithetical to each other, and the terms neurodivergent and neurotypical are antithetical to each other. So now that we've got that cleared up, I'd like to talk about an organisation that really helped me uncover my awesomely autistic self, and that's Autopia. Autopia is an autistic advocacy group, aiming to educate non-autistic, or allistic people, on the autistic experience through interviews, podcasts, and conversations. I've been on a couple of their podcasts, and they really help me open up to find my authentic self. As for future episodes of Autopia, the release schedule is still quite up in the air. However, I'm hoping to have a new episode for you every 2 weeks. I'll keep you updated on this though. The next episode of Autopia will describe the point of divergence of the timeline. In this case, the moment the alternate timeline becomes different from our own. Thanks for listening to this introductory episode, and I'll see you in episode 1.